everything you do more of over and over again to develop habit and muscle memory and be better at it. Same thing with mental strength and mental wellness. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means it's something that needs attention. Pay attention to it and get to work on it.
Hello and welcome to the Mighty Oaks Show. So glad to have you with us today. Hope you're having a great week. Looking forward to jumping into our content today. But before we get there, I want to remind you once again, take some time, if you have not yet, to go to the YouTube channel. Maybe you're watching this on YouTube. If you are, you're already there. So go ahead and subscribe. I know some of you still haven't done it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. That would be awesome. And so much content coming online all of the time. We're creating new content all of the time and new shows with new guests all the time. So I want to make sure that you have that. Go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment, share the content out. All of that would be great. If you're listening to the podcast or you're over at Mojo 50 Radio, thank you for listening. Take some time later on when the show is over to go to YouTube, and you can find us there. I like to bring this up because we create so much stuff. A lot of it's testimonial, some of it's instructive, but it's all for you. So please take some time to go there and check that out. Looking forward to our conversation today. Today we have two guests at the same time, which doesn't happen very often, so I'm excited about it. Tom and Jen Satterly are with us, and briefly, Tom is a retired Army Sergeant Major. He served for 25 years in the Army, including 20 years in Delta Force. We'll talk about that for a little while as well. And his wife, Jen, also with us, has done a number of things, filmmaker and photographer, but both of them have written books, and we're going to talk about a lot of that today. And the content that we produce, the topics that we typically deal with, revolve around military life, transitioning out of the military, and so often dealing with trauma. And this is what both Tom and Jen talk about. So guys, thank you for joining us. And I know we tried to do this a couple weeks ago, some kind of crazy storm in your neighborhood, couldn't do it. But here we are. Thanks for joining us, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Glad it worked out.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, and we finally got it right.
We got it right, so it's awesome. I would insert an Army joke here. I will not, because I respect you guys, but as a former Marine, I won't say anything more than that. We'll just move on. So let's start with your story. Tom, maybe we can start with your background a little bit, and then bring us to the point where you met Jen, and then Jen, how you got involved in this, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, my background was, 35 years ago, I decided to join the Army for 4 years and get some college money and get out really quick. Zero plan other than, I've blown my parents' income on college, so let's go get some more. Let's start this over. And I had zero ambitions other than college money. And so my first 3 years were in Germany, field flick in Germany, and the wall was still up. So, our job was to slow down the Russian horde on the way to kill us all, and waiting for the Americans to come over from America. So that was a boring job for me, to be in the regular Army doing those things that just brought no joy to me, really. Motor pool Mondays, every Monday the same thing, every Tuesday the same thing, whatever that was. That way we wouldn't forget. And so I got a little taste of French Commando School, German Ranger School, platoon confidence training, all taught by, platoon confidence training was taught by Green Berets. And then French Commando School was obviously through the French. And the German Ranger School was an awesome adventure that set me down a path to join Special Forces. So, I go to the Q course, jump school, everything you got to do to get out of the way. And I'm in language school. And a couple of guys approached me and said, hey, we think you have what it takes to join the unit. You want to do that? I'm like, why not, right? Let's keep going. So, again, no plan. I'd already blown past the 4-year mark now. And I thought, I'll get out at 10, right? I just had no idea what I was doing, other than I wanted to be somewhere better with better people. And folks would come along and say, hey, this is a better place. You should try it. I'm like, all right, I'll do that. So I just kept putting in effort, climbing my way up, and made it to Delta, where I settled in for a 20-year career there. And, some high notes on Delta was, other than going around the world and working with amazing people and suffering a lot as well, Somalia, Black Hawk Down was my very first combat mission. Wow. And then capture Saddam Hussein was another little bookmark on the end of that one to kind of wrap it up at the end. But lots in the middle that affected me that I would have never even considered was an effect. It was just one of those things, the culture that we lived, until I met Jen, who saw that way differently than I did. Yeah. By the way, Tom, your behavior is not quite normal. You probably should check it out a little bit. So I started opening up to the fact that maybe 25 years did affect me. Maybe I was behaving differently than I behaved before, and I just don't realize it because change over time, when you're there, you don't notice it. So you kind of just accept it as normal. So when I met her, she's one of those, this is not normal, sir, and you need to readjust where you're headed in life. And, you know, I fought that for a couple of years too. Yeah. Before it finally came full circle and I realized, I need some help. And I'll take anything I can get.
When did you guys meet, or what were the circumstances of you guys having those conversations?
Oh, wow. We were, we didn't have those conversations until I almost killed myself, and I finally told her about it. But we were kind of having a good time together for a while, both suffering a bit when we met. I joke about we met at our divorce, and we've been working into our honeymoon phase. And I'm kind of glad because everything else in my life worked out. Hey, everything's going to be awesome and perfect, right? And we join in, get married, and 4 spouses later, I figured out that maybe I was a common denominator, and I needed to look inward, and made some big changes. It was, thankfully, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't
I
for Jen.
spent my entire adult life at that point. I met him at 38, so I was a filmmaker, photographer, background in advertising, so we were working on a project together. I was brought in to film, and really it was for a former Delta member who had his business. I was brought in to do the commercial for it. Tom was one of the people that I was actually filming, and I don't think we talked at all during that time. It wasn't until after, when I was sharing some of the footage, that we started talking and really struck up a friendship. And from there I was like, so what are these RMTs? What is this? Oh, these are realistic military training exercises. And I'm like, can I go on one? And they were like, yeah, there's role players that go all the time, and civilians are able to, tag along or participate in some way. But I really kind of thought, hey, what if we started filming these? What if we started creating footage like, baseball players review footage? And I had spent time in sports marketing. And so I thought, hey, you guys should do this too. The first time wasn't so successful. I went on a Ranger RMT and
delete
filmed.
Delete that.
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Had the whole card erased. So
you can film anything except any of those things you just filmed.
Yes.
Anything else will be fun.
Being told by people who have no idea why we're there or what we're doing. They're just doing their thing. You delete that. So
yeah.
When you started having conversations about this, was that before or after you were married? About the trauma stuff and all the other stuff.
Yeah, that came way before. It was probably, we met in May. His suicide attempt was August. And I think probably we started talking about it maybe in October. And from there, really, I think the first thing I asked was, can you tell me about Black Hawk Down? What that experience was like. Are you comfortable talking about Somalia? And he, at first was like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. And I think my third question in, we were sitting at a cafe in St. Louis, and tears just started coming down his face. And I thought, oh, what did I do? Oh my gosh. I didn't mean to start this, but really it was the first time he had talked about it in like 20 years, which was so surprising to me. It was shocking, frankly. And the first probably 100 times he told the story, he cried, and it was very emotional.
I think a lot of people in the special operations community struggle that way because they are living in a culture that encourages you, we'll say, to pretend like you're doing okay all of the time. Accomplishing the mission is the only thing that matters. It's really interesting. It's been interesting to watch over the years. I come from a traditional Marine infantry background, where you have 18, 19-year-old service members who are doing their thing, but they're very young. It's just a different environment, and there are problems there as well. But when you get into the special operations community, most of the folks there are older, a little more mature, so they go into that for one reason, that's accomplishing the mission, not to grow up. But then you start dealing with things you don't have an opportunity to process. Do you see that as getting better, as not getting better in that community? What are some things that are being done now that maybe should have been done, 25 years ago?
I think everything's getting better, but it's always playing catch up.
Yeah.
Right? And plus you have those that you have to go against, the old school guard, rub some dirt on it, and what are emotions?
Right.
You'll get issued emotions if you need them, So, you're going against that. So the way we try to tackle that is to speak to the old school people. Like I was an old school guy, so trying to talk to people the way that I was reached was the effectiveness of it. What gets me? Finances, right? Finances get me. So we talk to leadership, like how much does it cost to train, say, a special forces guy? What's it cost to get him to the level that you trust him? He's on a team, and he works with your guys. Here's the price for this. Now, what's it cost to get therapy for somebody for, say, 30 days? Let's say 30 to 60 days. That's a minuscule number to get somebody therapy. Yet we'll throw away guys who ask for help and bring in another person. I go, so if you don't like it for the humanity aspects of it, do it, because it's financially irresponsible
that's right.
to get rid of someone you've trained up to bring in someone else you don't even know.
Yeah.
When a guy could break a leg and you'll give him light duty at a desk for 2 months till he's healed because you can see it.
Yeah.
Right? But someone says, I need help with drinking, or I need help with my family or my mental strength. People are like, whoa, that means you're crazy, right? And it's like, just
or
pause,
broken,
or broken,
or
and pause to get better at shooting. You run to get better at running. You lift to get stronger. Everything you do more of over and over again to develop habit and muscle memory and be better at it. Same thing with mental strength and mental wellness. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means it's something that needs attention. Pay attention to it and get to work on it.
What was the catalyst for you starting to figure some of that out? Obviously, you didn't have it figured out for a long time. So how did you start making forward progress in your own life personally?
Yeah, when I hit rock bottom, Jen was there to tell me, get out of rock bottom. You almost killed yourself. Let's go get some help. Let's work on this. And I'm like, sure. Yeah, you're right. We were living separately though. And dating up until our wedding night, when I'm like, yeah, I'm getting help. I'm getting help. I'll do all the things you say, like most people do, until finally it's the last ultimatum, and that's what happened. Our wedding night was a catalyst for me. That's why I say we ended in divorce and started off after that getting stronger, because our wedding night was just a typical night out for me again. It was just drinking with the guys, forgot what I was doing, don't even know what I was doing, got in a fight with my wife on our wedding night, wake up the next morning and she's not happy, and I'm like, okay, what happened? So that was that moment of, all right, come Monday, we're either going to get an annulment, chalk this up as a bad decision, or you're going to get some help. And she didn't even know what she was going to do, and I was terrified, and I made that, at that moment I said, I got to do something. This is not going down a good path on everything that I'm doing, not just this. It was everything that I was hiding. So that night, when that came crashing down, and that weekend after that, and the realization and the love she showed me and stayed with me versus see you later, I'm not going to deal with this, the compassion that she showed me, which, by the way, I had zero empathy and compassion at the time for any human on the earth, including myself. So the fact that she gave that to me, it all came together. Well, it wasn't that hard to help me and stop me from killing myself. Wow, I just basically tried to ruin our marriage on our wedding night, and you're still here, and you're compassionate. This is a whole new path for me. So that's when I started, and it was still a long, bumpy road, but and I'm still on that long, bumpy road, but I won't get off of it. Right, I'm going to stay on it and keep doing what I got to do.
Yeah, that's good. I was having this conversation with someone last night. When I'm talking about trauma with folks, sometimes I'll say you need to start with deciding you're not going to be a victim anymore. And it sounds really cold and like, well, how can I get past that? I'm not asking you to get past it, but at some point you have to decide, I'm not going to be victimized by that anymore. I'm going to take back control of my life, and whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but whatever that means, I'm going to start moving forward. And I think that is a critical step when the moment, whatever that is, that creates that, the moment you say, this is not okay anymore, and I'm going to start doing something about it.
Yeah, it's taking responsibility. It's looking inward and having that self-awareness that, being a veteran is not an excuse for poor behavior.
That's right.
Post-traumatic stress is not an excuse for poor behavior.
Absolutely.
None of those are reasons to lose your family or drink yourself to death or lose your job. All we ask is that people just take a pause and quit that frontal assault that they always, how are you? I'm fine. That's a straight up lie, mostly from everybody, right? But that's a programmed response that we have. So, wake up to how you ask questions of people. Hey, from green to red, and you got green, orange, and green, yellow, orange, and red. Where are you at today? I'm in the orange. Okay, how can I get you to green? Actually, the dialogue of talking versus that, how you doing? Fine. That's just a program response that we expect, and people just automatically give. So actually having conversation and talking to people and realizing that your life could change, and that way you don't live in that rearview mirror.
Yeah.
All the stuff I did. Look what I did. Look at all this stuff I did.
Yeah.
You'll never do that again. Do something else now. Make something else great.
Why do you think it's so hard for people in the military to apply the principles of training and leadership they know in the military to their lives? It's fascinating to me to watch, proven combat leaders, people that have been doing the thing for a long time, absolutely fall on their face outside of the military, when if they would apply the same principles that made them successful over here, they'd be successful over here. Why do you think it's so difficult to make that connection?
Awareness. The second we say exactly what you said to us, hey, you've been taught all this. I don't know how many times I tell everybody, I don't know what I'm doing. And I go, oh, really? What's PACE mean to you, right? Primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. Those are all plans. And when those fail, you have SOPs that you've worked on for a long, long time that you'll fall back on. So you don't leave the position you're standing in most things that you do in the military until you have a plan on where am I going? How am I going to get there? What are obstacles in the way? How am I going to counter those obstacles? And oh, by the way, what if something pops up that I don't understand? Well, we'll always fall back on this, right? The SOPs. They have all that training. So we change the verbiage. We change what we say. Hey, we don't, who needs help? Who needs treatment? No, who needs retraining? Who wants to go get some more training on a different topic? Which one of you leaders wants to lead the way with your sharing of what bothers you, so others will jump up, Reach in there and teaching these guys that you have everything that you need. It's just name something different.
Yeah.
You just need to focus it towards something else and use the same principles.
That's good.
But the awareness of the fact that they have that, but that's only for the Army,
right.
Just like PTSD is only for the service members.
Right.
Civilians don't get that stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's crazy. I think one of the things we deal with in our foundation, more than combat trauma, is separation trauma. Once you've come out of the military, is trying to figure out how to take that and make it work here. And Jen, I think that's kind of what you've written on. Arsenal of Hope is the name of your book, and the subtitle is Tactics for Taking on PTSD Together. I like that word tactics because it's very actionable, which is awesome. A lot of trauma or PTSD material it's real philosophical. It's it puts it all in great context. I just don't know what to do with it now.
Yes.
So what are some of the tactics that can be used for a couple that's dealing with this together? Because it is a together thing.
I'm glad you said that too, because I'm the same way. I have a million self-help books. I
Right.
have like a Barnes and Noble section at my house
Sure.
of everything I've read. And really, when I wanted to write Arsenal of Hope, I did want tactics, because I'm the same way. I've read a ton of books on PTS or TBI or relationships, and I'm like, okay, now what do I do with
Right.
it? How do I apply that? I know military members are excellent at applying information and want that as well. So Tom's book laid down a lot of the stories. I wanted mine to lay down the tools. And so really, the book is chock full of information as well. But when you look at how you can start, it's just like Tom said, it's awareness, it's communication. So many of the times that we talk, I'll hear the guys say, listen, I don't want to go home and tell my wife everything about a deployment or everything about training or what I saw or what I did. And I certainly don't want to share, the grotesque details of a lot of what war truly is, because I'm afraid she'll judge me. I'm afraid she won't look at me the same. I'm saying he or she, of course, this goes both ways. But what we have found is the spouse feels left out. The military is this huge piece of the life of a service member. And the civilian wife is over here, or spouse is over here saying, I want part of that big story, the biggest thing in your life, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know what you're doing overseas. I don't know why you've come home different. I know you're different. Your behavior is not the same as when we met in high school or college, or when you first were in service. So there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of fear, when you don't talk and when you don't communicate. And the first step really is saying, hey, these are some of the things I'm feeling. These are some of the things I'm dealing with. This is how maybe I've brought it into the home. Maybe I don't even know where to go from here.
Yeah.
We could figure this out together, but those conversations need to start happening.
It's great. So a lot of spouses, I think, in response to what you just described, I don't understand, you're dealing with this, I don't know why. A lot of spouses, it seems, become caregivers. So instead of becoming confrontational in the right way, they just say, well, this is just who you are now. And so I'm going to create a world with our kids and in our home and with our friends that protects you from your emotions and from your outbursts and from the issues that you have. My opinion is that's extremely counterproductive. It's not helpful because the person you're married to needs to heal. Now, I realize it's a two-way street, but how do you do that? How do you remain independent, hanging on to your own identity, while also confronting your spouse in a way that is helpful and hopeful and allows you to move forward together? That's a skill a lot of folks just don't have.
Yeah, and I think that truly, we did a podcast the other day with a law enforcement officer, and so many of the stories are similar. And I said, gosh, you guys have the toughest wives. I'm a veteran spouse. I wasn't with Tom when he was active duty. And I said, I've met the toughest spouses in this community because the armor that you guys wear is also put on at the same time by the spouse.
Right.
And also the children in the home too. And so you have to remain independent. I want Tom to have his own likes, his own interests, his own life. He wants the same for me. But truly, I think for the first time really in our mature age and have been through other relationships, we know that we have to put the us before ourselves as well.
Right.
So when we're arguing, is it Tom trying to be right? Is Jen trying to be right? Or is the relationship right here? And we always pick the relationship. So I would think, for active duty members and for spouses, they're constantly deployed. They're constantly facing this get to know each other again. And when the spouse comes back different from war, the other spouse is like, hey, I've been 6, 8 months, a year growing here. So it's very easy to grow apart. It's very easy to create distance. And I think one of the most important things that has to be done is to have a plan to remain together, to stay together, to not create these two different pockets in these two different worlds, but to figure out how to operate as one unit. Yeah. And that does take a lot of practice, time, energy, effort, work, and sometimes outside help. And Tom and I see a therapist, and we love her so much we brought her into the foundation. So.
That's a good therapist right there.
Yeah.
When you go through 5 others and you finally get one that's a regular, like, man, we need to pay you.
We're going to hang on to this one.
Yeah.
Do you outline, as you talk about this in your book, do you outline tactics for communication and some of the key elements that need to be a part of that good communication that you just talked about?
Yeah. Oh gosh. And it's the work that you guys do as well, is communication, awareness, and those dialogues are tough. They really are. And I think one thing that Tom and I had spoke recently, we were at a room full of Green Berets, and we talk about opening up to your spouse. We talk about allowing them into your world, and to whatever level the service member is comfortable, and to whatever level the spouse is comfortable. I can't go in and tell you how you should talk to your wife or the things that your relationship needs. But what I will say is honest communication is critical. Being vulnerable with your spouse is critical. And I know that's the big V word. And, when we go and speak, there's even been incidents where generals are like, don't use the word vulnerable. And Tom's like, but that vulnerability is courage.
How can you ever be brave without becoming vulnerable?
Right.
And so these spouses have their armor up. They're not vulnerable. The service member's not vulnerable. It's going to take some time to kind of crack that ice or pull the armor down again. And it really just starts with open dialogue and communication. Again, sometimes with the help of a therapist or a third party.
Have you seen spouses, as you've talked to folks, who have so found their identity in their husband or wife's brokenness that when they start to get better,
for sure,
that's when the separation comes?
For sure. There's a comfort in that. And there's, You know, you said earlier, you have to decide not to be a victim at some point. And I could have pointed my finger at my past and said, look, I had a rough childhood. I had all these things that happened. Those things weren't my fault, but it's my responsibility to heal from it. It's my responsibility to take those pieces as learning pieces and then move forward with them. But if that's my identity, then, I was an abused child. And that's part of my identity. I don't want to break that apart, because now I'm breaking part of my ego and my identity and my story. And so that means I've got to create a new story. And that's fear-based for a lot of people. So yes, people are absolutely identified as victims, including in secondary PTS, is, hey, this is what my husband was and these things he did, and now I'm going to sit in the victim role. And it's toxic.
Yeah, we have often, husband or wife will attend our program, and their spouse will say, I've been praying for this for years. I've been begging them to go to a program like this. They do. They find some hope. They start moving forward. They get better. And that spouse is like, I hate this. I'm out. And it's the craziest thing to me. This is what you've been asking for.
Yes.
But there is that fear that comes in. He's not the same. I could at least depend on that. Yeah, it's crazy. And it is toxic. You have to grow together, right?
There's resentment there too, I think.
Resentment for what reason?
Better.
Oh, right.
He got better. He has the attention. We've seen this a lot. We've
so much
sent warriors down to Warrior's Heart. We love Warrior's Heart. And, one of the incidents was this guy had to go down for 14 weeks. He came back. I found God.
Yeah.
I'm sober now. I have a new mission in life. I want to change everything. I'm all better. And she's like, okay, all right. For the last 20-something years, we've had affairs, drugs, alcohol, deployments. So I'm glad that you're all better now, honey, but what about me? Who's going to send me to Warrior's Heart to get 14 weeks of treatment?
Yeah.
Who's going to help assist me with my secondary trauma? No one? Oh, well, I'm glad you're all better, but I'm not.
Right.
And I think that's where the resentment lies. That's why we do couples. That's why we do the same.
Great.
We've got to help them both.
Yeah, that's right. And that's, even with us, again, we have, we say we serve veterans, active duty service members, first responders, and their spouses. So that's a big category, because if your husband or wife has been to one of our programs, you need to come as well, because it really does have to be a together thing. The other side of this, and again, it's just fascinating to watch how people respond, but the other side of this is, we'll say the husband, he goes, he gets his head on right. I'm done with the drinking. I'm done with the running around. I'm done with that stuff. Honey, I've got it all figured out. And she doesn't respond well the first weekend, so now he's mad at her, right? Like, well, I got this all right. Yeah, you've been screwing this up for 20 years. It does take time. It takes time to work together to move forward together.
Absolutely.
And we tell the guys too, guys and gals too, they'll call and say, hey, I was doing great 2-3 weeks, and we got in a fight this weekend.
Yeah.
I go, okay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Man,
or it's the PTSd.
That doesn't mean you have PTSD every day of the year. You have a relationship, and you will fight with your spouse. You're going to get in arguments.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's PTSD again. It means welcome to normal life.
Right.
Welcome to awareness that you're calling me worried about it.
Right.
But hey, it's better than just getting in a fight and going and getting drunk and forgetting about it. At least you call me. You're worried about it. You're working on something. And trust me, it's okay to be mad and get in arguments and feel sad. You're still going to be human.
You are human. And the best of relationships struggle in these ways, right?
Yes.
Always. So guys think that perfection, right? Again, when I'm all healed, we'll be perfect. Like, man, that perfection is the enemy of good. So just accept the good stuff, and then you will
know that there's steps backwards.
Yeah, you will fail.
Step forward.
Those no-fail missions you spent 30 years doing, those weren't no-fail missions. Those were missions where you fail 100,000 times during each mission, but you keep going on, going on and changing, and then you finally win.
Yeah.
I think we hired somebody before. It's like, no fail mission. I go, don't ever say that. Don't ever say no fail, because if people fail every second of every day, just get back up and keep going. And you'll finally win.
That's great. Tom, the title of your book is All Secure. That's also the title of the foundation that you guys started together. So can you talk about what that means to you, All Secure? Talk about your book a little bit, and then if you guys can talk about the foundation and the work that you do.
Yeah, All Secure is a call sign that goes out over the radio when we're hitting a target, when basically all the enemy have been either captured or killed, and at that moment, okay, it's calmed down, we're safe, we can settle down, and it's the first moment after a mission that you can start to let your guard down. You're still on target, so it's still dangerous, you still have to stay active. but that immediate threat is gone. So we're all secure in this general area. I thought, what a great way, as we were looking for titles, you know, she's like, what are some military terms? What are this and that? And I'm like, I kept going on and on and on. I was like, well, all secure is the first sign during the chaos that you can breathe.
Yeah.
You know, stop looking around everywhere, 1,000 seconds, you know, and just chill out and, okay, keep your guard up like you have to the rest of your life, but you can breathe. So we thought that'd be a great title of the book, and then thus, you know, the foundation as well. And the book is more of a, it wasn't written because I wanted to tell people about what I did. I'll tell you that. It took a lot of coaching and coaxing and yelling and screaming for me to write this book, because I knew what would happen the second people found out I was writing a book, you know. And at first thing, what are you, a Navy SEAL now? And I'm like, here we go. That's what I thought. Here we go. You know,
that is kind of a hallmark of the Navy SEAls, is to write books.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that was one of the, you know. And then my friends would call me, I heard you're writing a book. What are you, Navy SEAL? And I go, hey, you know what the book's about? And like, no. And I go, all right, see what's already starting. But you know, the book's about a little bit about me growing up, to give you that background of, you know, kind of who I am, and then my entry into the military to show you the path that I took. And then, boom, I'm in the unit. And we share some cool stories. You know, the Somalia stuff, there's more of it in there that wasn't in Black Hawk Down. You know, the Black Hawk Down was told by the Rangers side of the story. So this is probably the first, in a book form that I know of anyway, my version of Somalia in October 3rd, 1993. As well as some other missions along the way that have never been talked about. And then I think maybe the first recount of Saddam Hussein capture and the night before that led us to it, which was my guys that rolled up, the guy that took us to Saddam Hussein and eventually rolled him up the next night. But the book really lays down and really explains how hard that was and how hard it is on the humans to perform at that level for 90 days at a time, or whatever, you know, short durations. 90 days is a short duration that you can stay focused before you start to drop off and become complacent. And then you switch. Another unit comes in, you go home, and for the next 6 months, you're training to go back for that 3-month period. People are like, oh, well, you're only there 3 months at a time, and then you go home for the rest of the year. And it's like, nope, I'm at home, but I'm still gone from home.
Right.
So the book tells you about the toll that it takes, and then kind of takes you into where I almost tanked and how I got out of it. And then that's when Jen's kind of picks up with, oh, by the way, here are the tools, the actual things that we did that worked.
Yeah.
And how we got there. That's
great. I like that you did that with the two sides of that. That's awesome. Yeah, tell the story leading up to it, and then here's what you can do about all of that. What does your foundation focus on?
Well, we too focus on couples, and really that's the primary thing. We do help individual warriors, of course, but really what we found is that, like I said earlier, when we initially started just helping the warriors, they were getting help. The relapse was happening quickly after, because the spouse or the family wasn't supporting. And then we really started diving into, we have to help spouses on the home front. We have to help the families. They have secondary PTSd. They also are innocent casualties of war.
Right.
Nobody's really doing not nobody. It's still very much under the radar. And so when we started All Secure Foundation, it's a veteran and active duty and spouse organization to help create awareness, education, tools, resources. Because I know when I met Tom 8 years ago, I felt completely lost. I felt completely isolated. I didn't understand what was going on with him or why. And so really I wrote Arsenal of Hope for myself 8 years ago.
Right.
The information I wish I would have had.
Yeah.
Help.
And we bring that into the foundation too.
Yeah. That's awesome. What are some of the opportunities that you've had? I read both of your bios and even a lot of information about your foundation, but you guys have been just about everywhere, which is incredible, the opportunities that you've had.
Yeah, we started at Congress, which
that's a good place to start, I guess.
I know. I was like, couldn't we get a 5th grade class to go talk to first? I was like, well, it was kind of similar.
Right.
But that was the joke is, well, it's similar to the 5th grade class. But it's good we started out at Congress. We were educated quickly on what they don't know. You always assume, well, Congress has our back. They're a representation of America. They have our back. We heard was, we don't get veterans up here, and you're the first veteran spouse for sure. And what do we say to veterans? We don't even know how to talk to veterans. I'm like, well, they are human, start there. But they don't know. They didn't have, they've never had anybody up there literally speaking with them in their offices about the troubles that we've had and the problems and issues.
Yeah, and we've kind of done that all over. We started at Congress. We've gone everywhere from veteran organizations. We do PTSd resiliency training on military base and post. And so we kind of go everywhere.
Going international. We're going to Sweden. All right, don't let me get that wrong.
Sweden, yeah.
A place I cannot pronounce in Sweden this fall for an international medical conference to help out with that as well, to talk about probably mostly Europe and dealing with their first responders and military as well. So it's sad that the information is not out there as much as you think it is, you know? When you work in it, you're like, everybody knows this stuff, right?
Yeah,
and then you put it out there like, I've never heard about secondary PTSD. What is that? And you're like, really?
Yeah, and the whole PTSD world, I think in a lot of ways, the veteran has become kind of this sacred, untouchable thing, right? So whatever they're dealing with, just throw money at them, it'll be fine. But there's so much more that needs to be done practically as well. Can you talk about the role of faith in healing and faith in, I think as someone who's been a part of marriage counseling for veterans and in the military and outside of that, I've done both. Being married is difficult all of the time. I don't know how you could do it without faith, and I don't know how you could do it without faith coming from the background you guys have come from. What's the role, or how do you see the role of faith in what you guys are teaching and talking about and living?
It's a great question, and really it was one that has kind of come in this later stage of our journey, honestly. You know, when we met, faith didn't play really any part, and that's when we were at our worst. That's when we were at rock bottom. That's when, it really was. And you know, I think I had asked Tom a lot. I was raised Catholic. He was raised Lutheran. And so when we first met,
Mortal
I started...
enemies.
But when we met, we would have these conversations, you know, and he's like, oh, I wasn't raised in a very, you know, religious family. And I said, oh, I was. And, you know, we kind of had those discussions more about religion than spirituality and faith.
Yeah.
And I think over the last 2 years, I've always been super interested in spirituality. I've read everything I can on every world religion, and so it's something I've naturally been curious about since I was a child, but I really didn't start applying faith and spirituality in my own life until about 2 years ago. And I think it slowly started dripping in with Tom as well, but it has been truly finding my spirituality again and really connecting with God has helped me in tremendous ways. Even just understanding my own journey and how to heal from it, and giving myself that grace and truly permission to be curious about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I connect faith and hope. I connect faith and hope because I hear a lot, I lost my faith.
Yep.
Right? I lost my faith because of who I had to take lives, and and I didn't even consider it. And I'm thinking, all right, let's break this down, because moral injury, nobody talks about moral injury. And what the military does, and especially at higher levels, is they remove your thought and they replace it with muscle memory through training. You've seen the progression of targets from just a piece of paper to the bullseye to human figure to cartoon pictures to digital copies of your enemy wearing their uniform, cut out on target, so it's as real as it can possibly get, to simunitions where we're shooting at each other wearing different uniforms and things, to where they take away the thought and replace it with muscle memory. I would enter rooms, and in a second, half a second, I look in my sector, and all I'm looking at is hands. 4 people, 8 hands. If there's a knife or a gun or any threat in any one of those hands, I'm shooting that body. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're 14, a woman. I don't know.
Right.
You look at hands because the threat's not in the face, the skin color, any clothing. It's what's in your hand that's a threat. What can you kill me with? And other than that, no threat, no harm. Threat, dead. And so when you're done and you wander around the house and now you have to search and look for things and take, intel, now you have that moment. You have that moment that I hear from so many people, to where you go numb. Like I lost empathy and compassion for everything in the world, because staying alive, you're living in survival mode, and that's where you live after that. And back to the caveman days of I need to eat, I need to stay alive. I need to sleep because I have to, right? And that's it. And that's what I need to survive. Emotions have nothing to do with this. And then when you get past that and beyond, and your life starts to change, and the further away you get from that job, the memories are still there. You start to go back to the lives you've taken. Oh, by the way, those lives had brothers and sisters and moms and dads, and you know, you connect it to you. And the further away you get from it, the less hate is in your heart, because you know you needed that to do the job. And then those feelings come in. Now you're humanizing those people again that you used to dehumanize so you could go do your job. And that's where people have lost hope and faith, and they're like, I'm never going to heaven anyway. So who gives a, you know, who cares?
Right.
Who cares anymore?
Right.
So they've lost faith, and I'm like, well, they've given up, and they don't have any hope of a future, any hope of what's next. And so when we give them back the hope, they always come back to, they've got their faith again. They've always got, you know, opportunity. They know that the future can be better, you know, and they get past that earthly side of what's going on, the physical things you had to do, and now we're back into the spiritual world of how do you feel inside? What's next in you know, what's next beyond this? And are you okay with that? And if not, what's it take to get that way? Because let's go do that. Let's not sit here and say it's over. You were born in this world, right? With nothing.
Right.
So you can start again with nothing, right? Forgiveness is okay, right? So let's get back into it. Let's stop beating up ourselves, which is what most people do, just beat themselves up. You know, and everyone needs help other than me.
Right.
Because that's who we are. We provide service to other people. We'll go around the world and help people that hate us. They like you for a week, and then they hate you because the water won't run anymore.
Sure.
Then they hate you a week later. America, yeah, America, George Bush, and then Yankee, go home. You're like, man, that was quick. That was real quick. So it's hard to live that life, you know, to not feel safe or secure or attached or connected to anyone, you know, and then you start to die and break down. So faith is very, very important. No matter what your faith is in, it's very important to find it and have it to give you that path and guidance for sure.
It's interesting to see how people with faith, and we're using these terms very broadly, of course, but with a personal relationship, I would say, with God, versus someone who, you know, would think about it in very big terms, how they respond to things in combat. You know, I was in Iraq in 2003 as part of the push. We ended up in Baghdad, and a lot of crazy things happened. And you watch those who come from a Christian home and a Christian background, and they have a foundation of faith, and it's very real to them, and it's very personal. Things fall into place in a way that they don't fall into place when it's just kind of like, we're all an accident out here. There's nothing transcendent. There's nothing big.
Who am I doing this for?
Who am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Who do I answer to? Who do they answer to? Because as you said, everyone is so fickle. Things change so quickly, and then you come home and you carry that with you. And I think that's where a lot of, you know, veterans, service members end up saying, it just doesn't matter anyhow. There's nothing here. Faith. And then that hope piece is so important. We talk about hope often. When you think that your whole world is wrapped up in what you can see right in front of you, there's no hope. If you can't elevate your gaze somewhere else, then what is the point? And how do you keep moving? Yeah, faith and hope. That's awesome.
We talk to a lot of people that have lost it, and you know, and they either found it on their own or they find it with us or somewhere else. But you know, eventually they find it if they're looking for it. The ones that don't look for it are the ones that scare us. The ones that are just, I'm here, everything's bad, I'm waiting for that day. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's completely hopeless because there's nothing else out there. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're all just trying to survive.
And they'll sell that story over and over again to themselves.
It is it's a soundtrack that just runs in people's brains, and until something stops it, faith is absolutely essential. It has to underlie everything in order for us to have that true north. As you do the work that you do, you've written the books that you've written, you continue to grow and do all of the things that you're doing right now. If you had a goal, this is our ultimate goal, how would you state that?
The ultimate goal.
Ultimate goal. I think we're executing that now, right? We're starting to execute our ultimate goal. We're probably, you know, the start of our ultimate goal. I'll let you break this down. This is her baby.
That's okay.
We're at the start of our ultimate goal of we went from a resource library to let's start an internet page with all the things that she looked for to help me, and we'll put that there so people can find it. Let's just make it easier for other people to get help.
Yeah.
To, what? Let's help other people. And to, let's get money to help other people a lot through other professionals that can do it better than us. Let's just do everything we can to dreaming of a brick and mortar somewhere, to, we'll never do that, to, wow, so retreats cost what? And a brick and mortar would cost how much? We could help how many people? Because we're about volume and quality. I know you give one up for the other thing, but the volume is so overwhelming that we've got to go with a little bit of volume over quality. Not quality.
Yeah,
but,
I was like,
not quality, but let's say furnishings. Like a retreat is very nice. And a retreat workshop. Here, come to our retreat workshop. Wonderful places. Here's some tools to use. Let's go practice it while we do something fun. But those are expensive versus we could do this every day of the week, in a building near a location that, let's say, had a lot of people that needed a lot of help, and we could get them in and out at off hours. So, turning that into, I'll let Jen run it down. What we've been doing is working on this brick and mortar dream that we're going to have that will expand to other locations, but we'll start at Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I didn't really tell it. I just generalized it. Yeah, we're going to build you seem reluctant, build a facility near Fort Bragg as our number one home base, whatever we call it. Build some cabins to start to where they can go to get counseling during off hours, weekends, lunch, before work. Things that, we like to remove the excuses that everyone has about why they haven't gotten help. Well, I work in. Well, okay, well, we're here when you're not working. We're here at lunch. We're here in the morning. We're here on the weekends. We're here during work.
And we're anonymous. We could be anonymous.
Yeah, we're right off post. We're anonymous. It's free. What are your questions, man?
Yeah, that's
Make
awesome.
It personal. Nobody else is holding you back but you, and that's what we want to do.
And this is the first one. There will be more?
Yes, it's our goal is to start at Bragg and then spread out.
Yeah, fantastic. So before you get that up, where can people get the help that you guys offer? The hope that you're sharing, where can people find it?
Yes, allsecurefoundation.org is our website. We're on all the social platforms as All Secure Foundation as well. We have a contact form. When you go to that contact form, it goes directly to me. A lot of people want to share information, things that feel very private or personal. So I just want to assure everyone that those messages are going directly to me. And then from there, Tom and I will assess, does this need to go to a therapist? Tom and I get on the phone all the time, every day, to help people kind of sort out what is your first best step. Because we know with PTSD recovery, it could take anybody from 6 months to 10 years.
Sure,
and everyone's journey is so incredibly different.
Yeah.
We want to help make it easy to take that first step, because I know that first call can be very, very difficult. So please reach out. We're here. We want to help. We love helping. And there's literally nothing anyone probably can tell us that we haven't already heard or done ourselves.
So I tell, don't hesitate. Every time I finally, get the phone call, it's like, hey, my story's not like yours, or I didn't do what you did. Right. That's not what we're about. That's not what any of this is. It's not a comparison at all, which comparison is a thief of healing, right? So it's all about, what do you need? Unless we're going to get that for you. Right, we're going to share our stories. We're going to share what we went through, what worked for us, what didn't work, and it may or may not work for you. But together, right, we all get through it.
We all figured it out together.
Yeah, that's great. You guys on social media at all?
Yeah,
if you can find us.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
We're one of the shadow.
The word tactics, PTSd, the American flag on my book, they like to make it go away a lot. And at first I was like, you're just being paranoid. And now I'm looking around, I'm like, you're right. This is ridiculous. I can post a picture of a cat chasing a mouse in circles. I'll get about 10,000 people to like it. I post something about how you might need help, and by the way, reach out and read one of these. Or
like there's 3 likes.
Six people saw it. I'm like, I get it. It's not a fun topic, but we're on Facebook and Instagram. We're on Twitter, kind of, as All Secure Vets.
People are still there on Twitter. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Not many. Not many. You can go from having, say, 10,000 on one site to 20 on another.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on here?
This is the conversation we have every single day, I think, is about social media.
It's like, if I had $1 million, I might be able to buy some ad spots to help people out. I don't know what's keeping people from seeing our stuff, other than I don't know what it is. But
it's all under All Secure, so if that's where people are looking, that's awesome. And then your books. how do people get a hold of those? Where can they find them? Why should they buy? Why should they buy them?
Yeah, both of our books are on our website, allsecurefoundation.org. And when you buy it there, 100% of the proceeds go to helping straight to programs. None of it goes to us. None of it goes to anything else other than 100% directly to programs. They cost a bit more because we sign them, personalize them.
Great.
But that bit more goes to helping other people,
right.
So you get kind of a win-win with that.
Or you could go to Amazon.
You go to Amazon and get it way cheaper.
Or Barnes & Noble.
Right, or Barnes & Noble. I'm in all bookstores. I think we're both in all bookstores, aren't we? So anywhere you go, you can get it.
Yeah, and we just hope that, a lot of people have been reaching out saying, I'm not in the military, or, I don't even have a family member that's served, but PTS is not just for military and law enforcement members. And so I really encourage people to pick up the book who might have PTS or secondary PTS, or maybe just some high-level stress or trauma in their life. Yeah. And they just want the information. For me, a lot, like you had said, it's about how do I apply it? How do I understand it? And a lot of people have reached out saying, I didn't know my son had secondary PTS until I read your book, or I didn't know that my childhood trauma or sexual assault was doing this in my adult life to me still until I saw it show up in your book. So I encourage even non-military or law enforcement.
Civilians can replace the word PTSD with stress.
Yeah.
Lots
really
and lots
bad
of stress.
Yeah.
Right? And this is just post-stress from trauma. So these are relationship book help, these are stress help books. These are, and they're not military books about, hey, look at it, here's all the war stories. There's a couple in there to get guys to pick it up as a, peas in the brownies kind of thing.
Yep.
And we hide them inside. So, but they're books about help on relationships and dealing with stress and how to improve.
That's awesome. I would encourage people to pick them up even if you don't have any, if you're not struggling with any of these things, because you know someone who is. I get asked probably 3 times a week, how do I help a family member who's struggling but doesn't want help? Give them a book, give them a resource, tell them you're thinking of them, and that's a great way to open up the conversation as well.
Exactly. So. Or, and we do a lot of sharing stories about, wow, I really screwed this up one time, and go on about that, and people are like,
it's true.
Yeah,
we'll go first.
I can see myself there.
Yeah. Like, there we go. All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing some time with us. Tom and Jen Satterly of the All Secure Foundation, go check out their stuff, please. Someone that needs the resources that they're providing, and you can find that on their website, of course, or as they just mentioned, buy the books. For everyone else, thank you for watching. Share this content out. The reason I encourage you to go over to YouTube is so that you can share out the links and get this. Someone who's struggling, someone who's hurting, someone who needs to be informed. So please go ahead and check that out. And I'd love to share that with you. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next time.